One of my biggest fears, which sounds so crazy, is getting axed out because I've had guys ask me out and they just turn violent sometimes. Like, I remember one time I was like leaving work because I worked at night, and I was in San Francisco trying to like rush to get a bus home so I wouldn't have to wait like an hour. And this guy comes up to me and asks me for a lighter. And I'm like, I don't have a lighter. And then he's like, I'm trying to ask you out. And I'm like, I'm not single and everything, and I'm going home. And then he's like, hey, do you want to go to my car? Because I'm like, I have a boyfriend, all this other stuff, making up excuses. He's like, do you want to go to my car down the street? I'm like, no, thank you. Because this was like in the Tenderloin. And if you've seen the Tenderloin, and that was back when the Tenderloin looked nicer. Now the Tenderloin's way worse. But this guy asked me if I want to go to his car. I'm like, no, thank you. And like, it's like there's a bunch of people around at this time. It was probably about like 10:30 at night or so. And this guy's like freaking out, screaming at me on the street. I'm like, I gotta go home. I have to go to work. I got off work. I'm just like, whatever. And then he like starts insulting the way I'm dressed. He's like, you're not dressed like you have a job and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, okay, this man is crazy. And he's like freaking out, screaming at me because I don't like him. And it was like, I try to like be as nice as I can. I don't know if that's just like the normal way people ask people out, or they just like freak out screaming at them, because I'm assuming it's not normal. Because I know when I was in high school and like younger and stuff and with my friends, like if my friends and I, if we go out, like they'll get asked out most likely, because where we are, it's like where we've grown up and everything, and like no one ever asks me out because I'm like the black girl, and no one ever asks me out or anything. But if we go over to like San Francisco or Oakland or Richmond, then like people will ask me out. Because like one time we were at Nations and I got so scared because like all these guys start like staring at me and like gathering around me, and it was like my friends got scared. And it's like, why are these people acting like this? And it was like and then people start trying to ask me out, and it was like I was scared. Like when I was a kid, it was like when I was younger, like in an urban area, like people will ask me out in a more urban area. But like where I live and where I grew up, like people don't ask me out. And if they do, they might see me like on a dating app or something and ask me out if they live local. But generally, no one that lives near me asks me out. If I go to a more urban area, I'll get asked out and people will do stuff and like yell at me and stuff. And it's like, I'm not used to that. I'm like a pretty quiet, shy, reserved person. And then when people start like gathering around me and like asking me out and stuff, it just makes me really scared. And especially with the aggression and stuff, yeah, it gets scary. I get really scared. And then if somebody's with me, they get scared too, because it's like, why are these people like trying to ask you out and get aggressive? Yeah, I do not like that. I am like scared to get asked out. It is like one of my biggest fears. Yeah. Yeah, I remember one time my friends and I, we were like being political because we were like young, and it wasn't like anything really. It was just like we were at this place and it was kind of political, but like nothing like it is now. Like nothing like this, because I'm a bit older where I don't even like deal with like politics and all that stuff anymore. And it wasn't even really a political issue, it was just like a belief issue. and we were somewhere, and then like my friend, it's like, because this is like we were in the town we were in, but there were a lot of people from like another city, and it was more minority people there. So my friend and I were just hanging out like normal, and my friend's a white girl, and like where we live, she like people will talk to her before me, and it's like, oh, excuse me, can you move so I can talk to your friend? Because it's like where I live, it's like pretty much like if I tell someone to meet me somewhere and they don't know what I look like in the town, it's basically I say I'm the black person. And then they're like, oh, if they're not from there, they're like, I need a little more description. And I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. Because normally I'm the only black person around. That's the type of place where I grew up. So it's like I didn't get axed out or anything, rarely ever. So we're in the area that we grew up in, and this guy, like, we're standing there, we're watching all this stuff, because it wasn't like we were more there to like watch than anything else. We were like young, and there was like, oh, something big in the town's happening and we're gonna go watch. And it was at night, so all these people from this other town, they come over, and then there's this guy. It's like he doesn't talk to me, he doesn't say anything, he just like keeps coming after me. And then so like my friend and I, we like keep switching spaces, and it's like my friend, she's taller than me, I'm like real short, and this guy, he's like real tall, and it's like I'm showing no interest in him or anything, but like for some reason he keeps like trying to stand behind me, and he's like trying to grab my waist, and it's like I keep pushing my friend there, and it's like, because it's like a lot of people from like another town, like not even another town, like another county, and this guy is just like trying like real hard to like be near me, and it's like I'm freaked out. I don't know what's going on. No one ever shows interest in me, basically ever, in this town I live in, because it's always like, oh, do you know her? Yeah, that's the black girl. Yeah, or it's like, oh, who's coming? It's like, oh, the black girl. It's just like, yeah, because where I grew up and lived for a long time, there's like no diversity at all, and it's like a decent sized county, and like everybody knows each other, and like knows each other who knows somebody who knows each other. And this was like weird, because it's normally like I'm the friend that never has a date unless I go somewhere and go find a date somewhere else or something, because everybody knows I'm the brown girl, I'm not getting axed out. It was like that in high school, everywhere. It was like, yeah, she's not gonna have a date, she's brown, nobody axes her out. But this guy like kept coming for me, and it was like my friend, she's like trying to help me, and she's like throwing herself in the mix. And like the funny thing is, it was like the first time like we're out somewhere in the county we live in where some guy's rejecting her and keep trying to talk to me. And it's like, yeah, because normally the only time that happens is when we're in like a more urban area, and then people will talk to me, because pretty much the only time where she gets attention is when we're in the town that we live in, the town, the county, anywhere around that area, she'll get attention. But if we go outside that area, like people are trying to talk to me. And it's like really interesting, but it's like also really scary, because it was like I never had to deal with those issues really, except for like when like I would go somewhere, because like when I was a little kid, I used to live in a more urban area, and people would try and talk to me, but that never worked out, because my family, they wouldn't allow that or anything. But it was crazy. I am very scared of getting axed out. That is a huge fear.